good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you thirsty bunch of beer drinkers, whenever and wherever you're tuning in from. Today on the pod, I'm welcoming Steve Hukari, one of the founders of Southern Ontario Beer Boys, a group of beer-loving buddies from, you guessed it, Southern Ontario. Together, the SO Beer Boys, as they are frequently referred to, are ready and willing to conquer all beers while doing their part to make the world a better place. Willing to conquer all beers. I'm going to have to ask him about that today. What started out as an Instagram account documenting what they were drinking and where they were drinking it has morphed into something much larger with organizing and running some amazing events like Cans for Kids and the Brewers Ball, which we'll get into today. I've had the pleasure to know and work with the SO Beer Boys over the years, mainly through Steve, and it's a treat to have him here in studio in glorious Etobicoke. I greatly admire the work that they do, all on their own time, and I feel it needs to be recognized on a larger scale. So I asked him here to talk about it all today. He's one of the most passionate beer people that I've ever come across, always positive and upbeat, and it's a breath of fresh air when you're in his presence. We're going to discuss all the SO Beer Boy stuff and more, but first, my alarm seems to be going off, signaling the hour has hit. Canuck o'clock. It's time for a fresh Canuck Pale Ale. That is good. Hang tight. We'll be right back with Steve Hukari, the co-founder of Southern Ontario Beer Boys.
There appears to be only one line on this sheet. $50 for a case of Great Lakes Premium Lager. That's it? That's the ad? Okay. Cases of Great Lakes Premium Lager are only $50 every day of the year.
Well, hello there, Steve. Great to have you here in Etobicoke. Welcome to Between Two Fermenters.
Thank you very much. Good day.
I heard you like Canuck Pale Ale. That's the rumor going around the brewery, so I brought you a nice fresh one. Let's check this date code. We are recording this today on September 5th, and we are drinking August 28th beer. So a little bit old. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's perfect. That's actually my wedding anniversary, so it's perfect.
Congratulations. What Thank a beer you. To celebrate that with.
Perfect.
So as you get that in you, first question is, who the hell are you? Why are you sitting in this chair?
I have no idea why I'm here. Actually,
well, let's get the story straight first. I asked you, how do you pronounce your last name? You said, I don't even know. I don't think my dad knows. So let's go right back to the basics.
Sure.
What kind of last name is Hukari?
So it could be Hukari, or Hukari. It's not the last one. It's Finnish in nature. So
Finnish, okay.
Yeah, I'm Finnish Canadian. So Yari Curry kind of has that same kind of feel to Hukari, but not really. So yeah, it's I guess one of the kind of ones that has less N's and I's in it.
What's been the best Finnish player that has ever played for the Leafs?
Oh God, not Vesa Toskala, that's for sure.
No. The best Finn. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, I'll have to think about that. I'm gonna have to Google that one on the next commercial break.
Okay, so who are you? Who is Steve Hukari?
So personally, I'm not in the beer industry other than enjoying many in my free time. I'm a proud father of two girls, married to an awesome wife who is super supportive of all the beer stuff that we do. And, I'm a house designer by trade. So I'm not an architect per se, but, I'm a home designer, work for design consultant, for low-rise, construction, and I've been doing that since I graduated Ryerson in 1998. So I just dated myself right there, but been doing that for a couple of decades, and work hard and play hard, as they say, right?
Okay, so listen, you old bugger. When you say you're not in the beer industry, I think you've ingrained yourself into the beer industry now. Whether you're paid by the beer industry or not, you have cemented yourself as an honorary beer industry personnel with all the stuff that you do. So, SO Beer Boys, Southern Ontario Beer Boys, what is it? Who is it? What does it all mean?
So we started this, and I say we, actually it's not we, it's more Paul, who's in our group. He first came up with the idea creating an Instagram account, since we had just discovered craft beer back in 2016. We went to Because Beer in Hamilton. Paul had won some tickets and asked me if I wanted to go. I'm like, sure, why not? Side note, Paul wins a lot of stuff, so this was just one of the beginning things of all the things that he's won over the years. But we went to the beer festival, tried a lot of beers that made us cringe and kind of do the old kind of, not this doesn't taste good.
Was that like your impression of the cough from Dumb and Dumber?
So I did pretty well then, right?
It's Grandpa's old cough medicine.
It is, sipping on Grandpa's cough medicine. So we experienced that, and then we found ourselves, shooting each other pictures, watching baseball and hockey over the next couple of months, saying, oh, I picked this up at the LCBO, the beer store, mostly because of can graphics and just something different because we had tried it. And then we slowly started to kind of develop a palate for something other than the Mooseheads, the Bud Lights, the Keiths, all that type of stuff.
You don't have to give them a shout out here, but so that was 2016.
2016.
Wow.
Yes.
I thought maybe you guys were, but I guess Instagram's not that old either. So 2016, you started an Instagram account just to post what you were drinking, where you were drinking, and what you thought of the beers. How did it morph into some of the things that got you here?
Yeah. So we played beer league co-ed baseball in Hamilton. And we have our year-end tournament, which was, I think, at the end of September, mid-September, end of September. And we kind of said, why don't we do an empties drive, and see how much we raise for that weekend. If nothing more, there's 12 teams that are playing all weekend, and there'll be a good amount of empties from that. But at the time, we had quickly developed a good number of followers. It seemed like when anyone that was new from beer enthusiast point of view kind of came out back in those times, quickly followed everybody and everybody. So we started to get a decent following earlier on. And so we put it out there and had no idea what to expect. We actually ended up collecting, I think we thought we might collect maybe $500. So it's about, call it 5,000 empties. And we ended up collecting 14,000 empties that weekend. Nice. So we're kind of like, maybe we're on to something here.
And so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you mentioned people that were falling in love with beer, and you got a following on the Instagram account, but there was others that were doing something similar. And was it called the IG Brew Crew or the IG? There was a bunch of you,
yes,
who would, similar. You would try beers, post about them, talk about them, and you formed almost like a little group.
Yep.
I know there's been a falling out on that, but
it imploded.
But still, with that happening, you guys were all like-minded, and how important and how crucial was that to the development of the SO Beer Boys?
I think it showed there was spirit in the industry. There was, passionate people that love beer, and whenever we went out to these events, it was, even though you didn't know who you were necessarily meeting, it felt very comfortable, and because everyone was there for the same reason, it made it very easy to connect with people without knowing the person. So going back, I come from service industry. Growing up, I worked at a restaurant for 10 years, so I'm very familiar with the service industry and all the hard work that the people do in front of the house and in the back house and all that kind of stuff. So I gravitate towards the service industry in general because it was the time of my life that I grew up and came of age, if you will, sort of thing. So I appreciate good service and good people that work hard. So that's one of the draws that why we do what we do, or why I do what I do, because I just enjoy that industry in general.
Now, a lot of those early, let's call you and them, the early Instagrammers of the beer grammars or IG, whatever you guys want to call yourselves. You guys replaced a lot of the blogs that were back in the day. People were blogging about beer, writing about beer, and that turned into longer form posts on Instagram. did you feel that you guys had entered that realm once you started doing that?
I mean, I guess so. I mean, you can tell kind of who posts on our stuff, and who doesn't, or tell the difference. If you see a long worded, winded post, and that uses all the characters that you can, that's me who's doing that. If you see something that's short and sweet, then that's Paul. Okay. So I don't know. Maybe I'm a closet writer or closet, I
want to be writer.
I want to be writer, I guess. I don't know. I enjoy kind of telling the story, and we're kind of, inspired by others to, make it enjoyable to read and be kind of loose, and hey, we're buddies even though we don't know each other, kind of thing, right? So it was fun to do back then, and still enjoy doing it now.
So you mentioned the hospitality stuff, understanding and having an appreciation for front of house and back of house, but what was it about beer in specific? Why beer? Why did you gravitate there, and why did it lead to this?
From an initiative perspective, or just enjoying?
Initial, like you and Paul and whoever sitting around and talking about the beers you were drinking. You started this thing, but how did you find that appreciation for craft beer? Because you mentioned some other big name brands, but how did you fall in love? You said the design and stuff, but what made you fall in love?
I think as our palates quickly changed, all the macro stuff generally, it's beer, right? And once you start to taste the different flavors that are out there, explore different, I didn't know what a bourbon barrel aged stout was 10 years ago, right? So when you start to delve into depths and different flavors and stuff like that, it just becomes more interesting. There's the wine snob and there's the beer nerd kind of thing, right? So wine has depths that go beyond just having a glass of wine with dinner. There's really deep intricacies into crafting wine, just as there is in crafting beer. So I think coming from a creative background from my personal industry, I find the creativity that's in beer and interesting and enjoyable to try more. I mean, I grew into loving beer, and the more that I can try and enjoy, whether it's one palate or another palate, or one flavor to another flavor, that's just enjoyable at the end of the day.
Do you still love it as much as you did when you started?
Yeah, even more, I think. I mean, in full truth, the initial, let's start a Instagram and see if we can maybe get some free beer was the initial thing, right? Like in full truth. But it's grown from then, at least for me personally. Like every time we travel somewhere, it's like first thing I look at, what are the breweries that I can fit into not disrupting my family's schedule for an hour to try something new from a different country or a different city. That's just what it's turned into for me. So the more I can try, the more enjoyable it is, and just have a wide range of opportunity to try different things that are brewed by different people in different areas.
Do you remember the first post you guys did? And what beer it was?
Paul posted first, and I don't remember. I'd have to go back and check. Okay. I want to say, I'm not even sure. I'm not too sure. It might have been, I think, something from up north, like Muskoka or Lake of Bays or something like that. So
nice. Okay, we're going to pivot, as Ross would say, into Cans for Kids. So this is one of the things that you just mentioned, that you were having a co-ed softball, beer league softball tournament. You were hoping to get about 5,000 empties, $500. 14,000 empties. And that, I guess, morphed into this current thing you're doing is Cans for Kids. You partner with some breweries and you hold these can and bottle drives. So I love it. Great Lakes is a proud partner in it. And tell the listeners everything about Cans for Kids, start to finish. When did you start it?
So it was that baseball weekend that it kind of first came into pass.
What year was that?
2016. It was September
16.
Yeah, September 16 was the first kind of empties drive that we did.
So your whole beer life, whole beer career
was born
in 2016. Okay.
Yeah. So previous to that, as quickly as I can, Paul had organized a couple of teams in previous years that raised money for another charity, which I was a part of, and he was kind of ringleader for it. And we did very well. We raised a lot of money in 2 years. I think it was about $40,000 that we raised in 2 years for that entity. And they have a big end of year kind of celebration with all the teams that are involved for this. But we found out that, half of the money that's raised literally goes to spend on this year-end event or cover their expenses or whatever. So whatever we raised, actually only half of it went to the intended charity, which we kind of found a little bit off-putting. So we said, you know what, we're not going to do this again, but maybe we'll surface, if we want to do something for the community, then maybe it'll come up in a different entity or format down the road. So when we got into kind of loving craft beer, and we said, well, when we do an empties drive, that's kind of where it's like after that weekend, we're like, oh, well, maybe we have something here. So then kind of put it out there. If anyone wants to donate their empties, we'll gladly come pick them up, or you can drop them off at one of our places, and whatever we collect throughout the entire year, we'll then donate to McMaster Children's Hospital in Hamilton. So that's kind of how it started. And then from there, I think it was yourself that had reached out in 2020 and said, why don't you do an empties drive at Great Lakes? And I was like, sure, why not? So that's where kind of the breweries got involved. So Great Lakes being first. And I remember like 2 minutes coming into Great Lakes, and within 2 minutes, I think there was 4 people that had dropped off a trunk load of empties, and you just kind of looked at me and smiled and said, we have a pretty good following, so like prepare yourself for the next 4 or 5 hours. So I'm like, okay. It was just me and Paul, and yeah, we were overwhelmed by the support that the Great Lakes supporters and fans came out that day. Had no idea what to expect. We thought maybe, again, 5,000 empties, $500 would be cool. And I think we ended up doing,
it was over 17,000.
I think it was like 14, 17,000. Anyway, all I know is
over 17,000.
Yeah. All I know is we didn't have, we've spartaned up since then, and you've offered one of your cube trucks to help take back empties. So we didn't have that in the first go. So I remember it was 10 till 4, and we were still taking back empties at 9:30 that night in our 2 vans. So
now I didn't know that. I didn't know we were the first brewery too. I thought there was some other breweries involved beforehand, but Great Lakes was the first one to host one.
Yep, you started all the madness.
Look at that! Did not know that. And so that first one, let's tell some stories about that one, because that was a good. I remember like yesterday. So 17,000 empties. We had people coming out from all over South Etobicoke, Toronto, dropping stuff off. We had, I remember seeing a bunch of Brava bottles. I was like, Brava? How did you even hear about this? But we had Round the Horn, which we're going to talk about too. Here, you know what? Let's talk about it now.
Sure.
You're wearing a Round the Horn t-shirt. You're going to see it when we post the picture of Steve and I on the old Instagram. Representing Round the Horn. But so we had Kristen McNeil in here in the past to talk about her establishment in Roncesvalles. And we did talk about her commitment to supplying you with all the empties from the restaurant, the bar or the restaurant. What happened there? Because they came to that first one in 2020 at Great Lakes, and then tell me about the relationship. How did that all start?
I think that day, and we didn't know at the time who Round the Horn was, but I do remember Dave coming in and dropping off a ton of empties, and it like he couldn't fit one more empty into his car that he came with. So I think they had reached out after a couple weeks or months after, saying, hey, if you want our empties, you can come and grab them whenever. And that was almost 4 years ago. Okay. And I've been going there ever since, probably every 3 to 5 weeks. It's sort of semi on the way home from work where my office is. So it's not totally out of the way. Usually pair that up with picking up one of the kids from the gym. So it's just enough time to load in and have a quick pint before I have to get to the beer store and drop off the empties and get the kids home.
Now, how many empties do you figure that they've donated to Cans for Kids through Southern Ontario Beer Boys over those 4 years?
A significant amount. I would say every single time that I go there, we're in the 1,200 to 1,500 empties range. So call it 15, 20 times a year. It's been a lot. It's been a significant portion of the amount of empties that we have donated over the years. So proudly wearing their t-shirt today to they've been they're great people. Kristen's awesome. Love going there and having a beer when I can.
It's always a Great Lakes beer though, right?
85% of the time. You gotta change it up once in a while. But more often than not, it's an octopus wants to fight, which is usually fresh as can be.
So, Round the Horn's doing this with you, and it's again, you're coming in. I know you said it's kind of on the way or in between, but you're coming in from out of town to do this every 3 to 5 weeks to pick up their empties. If another bar or restaurant is listening to this and they want to donate too, what are you going to do if they reach out to you? Are you guys going to be like, okay, every weekend we're coming into Toronto, or we're going to different parts of the province? Or do you want to set up one day, maybe a little satellite thing where they just submit their donations?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to work within the schedule. I mean, the work-life balance and play balance, right? So as long as it kind of fits in, like, look, if I'm coming in from Vaughan down, the 400 to Etobicoke, not a huge deal, but I'm not necessarily going to drive out to Oshawa to pick up 500 empties at the end of the day, because it's just not worth it, and I'm paying more in gas just to get out there. So, yeah. But local to our areas, which would range from call it Eastern Toronto all the way to Hamilton, within kind of 50 clicks. I'm out on the road at the office every week. So if it's within, not a crazy amount of time away, then I will gladly stop by and pick up any empties that you would want to donate.
Now, we talked about Round the Horn, but you do it with other breweries now too. So I know Collective Arts is involved, Third Moon, Nickelbrook.
Yep.
In all the years that you've been doing it with breweries and with Round the Horn, do you know how much empties? Like, do you have a rough idea of how many you've collected?
Yeah, I think I did a tally earlier this year just to figure out exactly where we stand. I think we're just over the $33,000 mark in terms of empties returned in the past 8 years. So that's a lot. It's
300,000 plus empties.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing, and congratulations, because it's a lot of sweat involved and a lot of hard work. Like you said,
stinkiness.
That first year, we just had that mountain of cans on the patio. We've since moved it to a different spot in the brewery, and we've actually worked with the beer store to provide the great big green bins that we can fill with cans. Helpful. So big shout out to our friends at the beer store in the Queensway. So before I ask you about some fun stuff with the Cans for Kids, tell us about when the next one is, because I think it's coming up.
It is coming up. It's coming up on Saturday, September 14th, 10 to 4 p.m. at the HQ Great Lakes Brewery in Etobicoke.
And not only is that happening, we're going to have some music, we're going to have some food.
Yep.
We're going to have some special cans too.
That's the rumor that's going around. Yeah.
I think we might actually have them by this weekend. That's the rumor as well. But when you're listening to this, that means that'll be next week. So I kind of butchered that, but we have a beer that has Gordy Levesque, our fearless leader on the can of Canuck Pale Ale, standing not only on just a log, but in a sea of empties. And so $1 from each can will be donated back to SO Beer Boys to make the donation to McMaster's Children's Hospital for the Cans for Kids event. So,
which is amazing. I have to say that's above and beyond anything that I would ever or anyone would ever expect from a brewery. So we truly appreciate that support, because it's unbelievable that the Great Lakes would do that for not only us, but for a children's hospital that's not necessarily the closest one to their vicinity, but to show appreciation of what we do and help and support the initiative that we started a number of years ago, and it's kind of grown and taken a little bit of a life of its own kind of
Well, it's really, people love it.
Yeah.
And again,
they don't have to do the returns. They just bring them and drop them off, have a beer, and take off.
There you go. At the top of the episode, I mentioned that I think you guys need more love and more appreciation for what you do. I was trying to do my crack research for this, and I couldn't find too many news articles or blog posts or whatever you want to say on this Cans for Kids. But like you've said, you've collected over 300,000 cans or bottles. You've made significant donations to McMaster Children's Hospital. So I wanted to give you the plug. And that's when Great Lakes is looking for people and organizations or businesses to partner with. The people putting in the hard work and they're doing it for nothing, like you guys, it makes it all more worthwhile and an easy decision to let's join hands and do it as best as we can. So
and we appreciate that. It's not looking for the spotlight or anything like that, but McMaster is true to our hearts for various reasons. A number of our kids have spent some time there for some serious things, some less serious things, but they truly have one of the best facilities for helping children in need, whether it's children with cancer or any issues that they have to deal with. They're second to none in terms of their ability to make you feel comfortable, make you feel like everything's going to be okay at the end of the day. So because they've done that for our families, we feel that was where we wanted to focus our donations 8 years ago when we first had our pivot from what we were doing things from before to what we are continuing to do now. So we've done a lot in the last little bit and have a great number and headed towards a goal of ours that will hopefully happen in the next couple of years.
Yeah, the GTA, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, we're really lucky. We just made a donation to Sick Kids Hospital with some of the proceeds from the Holy Mackinac beer we did with Joe Bowen and his son Sean. And just listening to all the people that would say how much it meant to them and how much the hospital means to them, and then to have one in Hamilton as well is just great. So
at the end of the day, children's hospitals are like the lifeblood to help families at the end of the day, and it's not just McMaster Children's Hospital. Toronto Sick Kids and Chio and Ottawa and all the other places in Ontario, like they do. They do God's work, and for all of our families with kids, anyone that has kids, and they know they're precious. And as soon as they sneeze once, you're like, "You okay?"
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they can make you feel comfortable with much more serious things where you're coming in there, then they deserve all the support that they can get.
And making the parents comfortable as
Absolutely.
well. Too. Yeah. Going back to the empties and Cans for Kids, have you seen anything crazy in the empties over the years? Did you find a mouse in a bottle like Eisenhower?
No mouse in a bottle. Maybe some.
Hey, I want a free case of beer. Hey, I found a mouse in a bottle. Hey,
maybe some fruit flies. I don't know. I'm pretty sure we've picked out half-eaten nacho from a bag of cans before.
But nothing crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you see old brands. I know, the Great Lakes empties drives. There's been some cool, vintage bomber bottles of, trying to think, ice hole or something that is, bomber bottles were cool because they felt like it was special, because it's not a can. So people seem to, I've saved a few cans and bottles over the years just because they're special for what they were, but people just seem to kind of bring them in. So to see some stuff that I didn't even know existed is kind of cool to see. It's almost like a museum of beer that's being dropped off.
Well, that's funny. We have a question from a customer that correlates with that. So we'll wait till that time to go into more detail. But nothing crazy. I thought you would have found some interesting things. So what's the
garbage.
What's
Garbage
the record for collection at one event? Was it the 17,000?
I think we did the following year. I think the first year might have been a little bit less, but the second year I think was just under 20. I think we're around.
Okay, so maybe it was 14 the first year and 17 the next year.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Okay. Yeah, I think it was 14. Then we did 19,000 the next year. And
amazing.
That has yet to be topped until September 14th, 10 to 4 p.m.
That's right. I was going to say, Great Lakes supporters and beer supporters out there listening to this episode, Bring your empties to Great Lakes Brewery on September 14th. Stay for a $5 pour, have some food, listen to some music, and help Steve, Paul, and Southern Ontario Beer Boys get a big donation to McMaster Children's Hospital. Let's move over to Brewers Ball. Now, this is right up my alley. Baseball, beer, and good people. So I'm going to assume the idea came from your co-ed softball and then the empties drive. And you're like, oh, why don't we just get beer people together for a tournament?
Yeah. Kind of from that. And in my industry, we have a similar event where much bigger. It's like 30 teams and you just get together and play baseball all day and have some good food and drink a lot of beer. So that seemed to go into something that would be fun for everyone and not just, here's another event that I got to do with my workplace or anything. It's more of it's definitely a team building thing for breweries to come out and hang with their team and socialize and just those type of events are priceless in terms of building team camaraderie and all that kind of stuff. Just knowing from my industry and getting out there and having fun at the end of the day, and know that you're making raising some money for a good cause. It just makes it that much easier to have fun and commit to.
Now, is this the third one this year or the fourth one?
This is the fifth one.
The fifth one.
It is, yeah.
I've missed a couple because now my son's in baseball and it's every weekend is, and again, I won't be able to make it to this one either, which is September 29th.
September 29th at Collective Arts Brewing in Hamilton.
There's literally a baseball field right across the road from Collective Arts. And so
50 feet away.
You do the baseball tournament, you go back, have some beers at Collective Arts. Shout out to Matt Johnston and Dan Johnston and everyone else there.
Yes, sir.
It's a great time. Like you said, team building. I remember one of the years we went, the brew pub had just opened and one of our staff went to pick up some of the brew pub people who had not gone to bed. And so they slept on the way there. Never played baseball a day in his life. He was a cricket player. And the next thing you know, by the third game, he's hitting the ball for triples, doubles, just insane. So that day you raise money too, though. It's not just a fun day.
That's right.
How do you raise the money?
We have an entry fee that covers most of the costs. I mean, we have a beer going that's donated from Collective to everyone that comes out. We provide a lunch, water to stay hydrated all day. And there's a little bit of money that comes from the entry fee, but we also do a craft beer raffle where we ask everyone to bring their favorite craft beer. When you check in, we collect that, and at the end of the day, we'll sell raffle tickets for winner take all or winner take
all the beer,
right? A portion of it, because the initial time we did it, we had a good amount that would keep someone's fridge full for a couple of months. But since it's grown from there's no way you could just drink all the beer and expect it to be fresh and everything else. So we usually have about 4 or 5 giveaways that we do from all the beer that's collected from that. And that usually raises a good amount of money for the day as well.
Do you ever sit back after the event and just say, I just brought all these breweries together? And it's not just brewers, it's sales, marketing, owners. Sam Corbet hurt himself the one year, which was hilarious, trying to leg out a single. But when you look back, and I like to view myself as a little bit of the beer archives, and I love the history of beer, but you're bringing all these people together for a good cause. But have you ever sat back and thought about how many teams do you have? 10 teams?
This year, yeah, we can't do any more than 12 because we have 3 diamonds and just the way the schedule works, not to keep people there, they're there. It's a long time. It's a 10 till, if you make it for the final game, it's over around 6:30. So it's a long day, especially if you're crushing Canucks all day. So you gotta be able to get home at the end of the night. It's on a Sunday, so
there's a GO train that comes back to Toronto.
There is, which is super helpful now. So get.
But have you ever thought about that? You're bringing hundreds of brewery people together.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's kind of cool because who are we at the end of the day, right? We started, kind of sidestepped into craft beer by chance, and try and make a little bit of waves with our initial initiative that kind of fell flat after a number of years and kind of continue that on. It's cool to see people come out and support what you do when, they had no idea who you were before. And obviously we got a little bit of a following and people know who we are now, which is super cool. But there's no expectation from us in terms of whoever wants to participate in it. We're just providing the means out of the goodness of what we do, and the people that participate makes you feel good at the end of the day. Right. So, just from that, every year I'm like, I'm going to do this again because I'm busy with my family life. I'm busy with my work life. It's a lot of work.
And again,
to do
it's
and organize.
all volunteer.
I'm not getting paid for this, and I don't take any cut from what we do at the end of the year, and through gas and time and late nights,
rake in the field and
whatever, all that kind of stuff. So so there's definitely something given for continuing to move it forward. But to see the day when you see everyone out there having a good time, makes you feel good at the end of the day that they're having a good time and they're supporting you for the effort that you do. So it kind of, when it comes time to doing it again, it's like, yep, let's do it again. One more year.
So it's brewery related teams, or I know there's that other podcaster in some other little small town called London or something.
Yeah,
he's putting a team in.
He is,
but
I think he's throwing darts at you earlier this week.
I think he's trying to get me to play for him. So it's a great opportunity for the general public if they want to come out and watch and meet brewers, people in the industry. They can come, right? It's open. Collective is great. They're supportive of the event as well. They typically donate $1 from every beer sold at the beer garden that day. So the more people there that drink beer, the more that's going to raise for the day's take. So it's open for everyone. They have a great patio out back. Hopefully it's a sunny day, fingers crossed. That the one year was pretty cold and wet, but we still had a great time.
Yeah, it was fun. We had the dunk tank the one year, and got a few people wet, and it was about 12 degrees and windy.
Did I go in I don't think I went in the dunk tank. I think it was too cold for that. Yeah,
it was not a day for a dunk tank for sure. It was a good idea.
I remember Sam was in it.
Sam went in it. Karen from Wellington went in it.
Drunk Pokeroo in it.
Pokeroo went in it. Yeah. It was a few people that went in it. It was fun. It would have been better if it was 30 degrees and sweltering out for that. But live and learn over trying to do something different and have some fun. So
give us the details one more time and what breweries will be there.
So that is on Sunday, September 29th. All day, starts early, ends late. Breweries that will be in it this year. Bellwoods is going to be in it. Great Lakes is in it. Oh my God.
Wellington, Sawdust?
Sawdust, not sure yet. Wellington, through their Queen of Craft Association, is going to be in it. Cowbell's not in it this year.
Not in. They don't want to defend.
No, Fairweather's in there every single year. Collective has a team. We have the Instagram team. There's the team London. The
Pellheads, I think they're called or something.
Yeah. So there's a number of breweries that are involved with that based on what I saw just the other day. So I think there's some people from Left Field, from Granite, from Beer Lab. So it's a brewery. It's a cool mix of a team that's been put together for that. So looking to see if they're
so Great Lakes will donate an extra $100 to McMaster Children's through the SO Beer Boys if that team from the Pellheads or whatever they're called, if they don't win, $100 goes to the McMaster Children's Hospital.
All right. Pressure's on, Ben.
Okay. Oh, you mentioned his name. Oh. It's okay. Questions from from your fans. So we put this little thing out there and we got a couple people. We had 3 questions come in. So you set a record. But I don't know. This seems staged here. Tim Burr says, you drink a lot of Canuck on your Instagram account. Is that your favorite beer?
From Great Lakes or of all time?
It doesn't say here. It just says, is it your favorite
Tim,
beer?
You got to be more specific. I would say Canuck's a great beer. Love that beer. You can drink it all day, all night.
Jesus, this is like a political answer here.
It's great.
The short answer is yes, Tim, I think is what he's trying to say.
Yes.
But I think timber, I'm going to guess he's a lumberjack-ish person. So the other question, Niles Mosaic, again, he asks, when you return all the cans and bottles to the beer store, what is the reaction of the staff when you walk in? That's a good question because I've never asked you that either.
It is. So some reactions, more often than not, is, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, what, they got to do some extra work?
Yeah, and I've chosen some times that aren't necessarily convenient for them just based on my schedule, especially the round of horn deliveries end up being at like 8 o'clock, and it seems like the beer store that I go to for those ones are literally after they mop the front floor.
You walk in.
I walk in with 1,500 empties, so usually they're understanding because it's their job to do. But everyone's human, and the initial reaction is like, what are you doing to me? Yeah. But no, we for the events we call breweries ahead of time. We've learned that to give them a heads up, and usually they'll put on an extra staff member, or they'll be accommodating at the end of the day for us, which we appreciate.
Yeah, we got the former president of the beer store involved 1 year so that we could get those green bins and make it a little easier on both SO Beer Boys and the TBS staff at that location near Great Lakes. This is also another stupid name, but Empty Can asks, do you collect any empty cans? So,
well, yeah,
I bet
it's called cans for kids.
But then he says, or she, I bet you see some cool old ones. So I guess I'm going to back to what you said earlier. You saw some bottles come in, the old stenciled Great Lakes bottles, but have you seen anything come in that you're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to take that aside. And do you have a little collection somewhere?
No, because every penny counts, but there's been a few things. Yeah, every dime. Yes, every dime counts. I mean, there's been a few bottles where I just don't even know where it's from. You have to look at it, and you know, it's usually something from overseas or you know, from the U.S. or wherever, where you just, you know, not too sure what it is, but. You know, some of the coolest ones, like I was saying earlier, was you know, some of the bomber bottles that Great Lakes used to do a number of years ago. Cool to see. Definitely looked aged, a little dusty, a little faded on the ink on the bottle, but
yeah, there was a couple times where someone would come in and say, you know, I was holding on to all these bottles. I want you guys to have them.
Yep.
But then it became, oh shit, we kind of want them too. Like,
yeah.
So we split maybe, but we're gonna listen to an ad, and we're gonna come back with some rapid fire questions.
Alrighty.
Take another sip of that Canuck Pale Ale, nice and fresh, and we'll be right back with some with some rapid fire questions for Steve. Hang tight.
So you're here because you love beer, right? Nothing beats the right beer at the right time with the right group of people. And at GLB Etobicoke, we're all about making that experience happen day in and day out. Join us for our full slate of events on our cozy heated patio with Euchre Wednesdays, Trivia Thursdays, and live music Fridays, all hosted by our certified stellar taproom team in the heart of South Etobicoke. Join the community and tip back a frosty one while you're at it at 30 Queen Elizabeth Boulevard.
Okay, Steve, you ready for these? Rapid fire.
Let's go.
It never works out the way I want it to, which is the magic of rapid fire questions. But what beer have you been enjoying recently?
I would say our first collab with Third Moon from a couple weeks ago. It was called Subterranean Thunder, had all the New Zealand hops on it, and it was fantastic.
Whoa, you had a collab. Tell us about that. I didn't know that.
No. Yeah. So we in our kind of community challenge, Cans for Kids community challenge, we asked each of the breweries, which is Great Lakes, Third Moon, and Nickelbrook, to see if they wanted to do some type of collab with us this year, just to help support the event. Chris and Bebo are amazing people at Third Moon.
His real name is Steve, by the way.
It is Steve, and it's another Steve. I know so many Steves, it's crazy. I know like 100 Steves. I'm not even lying about that. They're awesome, and you know, if as close as a local that I'm gonna have, they're 12 minutes north of where I live, so I spend I'm there a couple times a month for sure. So yeah, we did a collab, had all the inputs on it, which was super cool. Shadowed Jim, their head brewer, the entire day, got dirty, sweat a little bit.
Nice.
It was a very, very cool experience.
And how's the beer?
Awesome. Yeah, sold out in less than 48 hours. So if you didn't get it, check your local bottle shop and give it a try.
How many cans do you have at home? Or go to Steve's house.
Yeah, I have a couple of 20-something or other still in the fridge.
Name your celebrity doppelganger.
Oh, so I have one, and I have to look it up. So I'm gonna look at my phone just because I don't know this person, but someone said it to me years ago. So his name is Joshua Morrow, and he plays on the Young and the Restless. So I'm not a soap guy, but
I can see it. Yeah,
kind of. When I look at it, it's like
he's a better looking version of you.
He definitely is a better looking version of me. He makes a lot more money than I do, I'm sure, as well too. So
he's the Young and the Restless.
So if you look him up, and if you know what I look like, we don't show our faces that often on our socials, so you may not know what I look like, but that's about as close as I can get.
Name a person in the industry that has or continues to inspire you.
Well, without telling too cheesy, I'm kind of looking at him right now. So I do.
Mike Boone.
Yeah, Mike Boone. Yes. Just met him 30 seconds ago, but I look up to you, brother. I appreciate everything that you do in the industry. You're ultra passionate about everything brewery related and beer related, and coming, like I said, from a service industry, I appreciate the people that do more than what would typically be expected along that, and the fact that you reached out a number of years ago to support us, and I would say we've become friends over the years as opposed to just kind of a partnering team, and enjoy the moments that we have with each other. And I'll pass the Kleenex box over.
Thank you, sir. All right, and I'll give you the $20.
All right, perfect.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. That's nice. Best time and place for a beer.
What time is it now?
Canuck o'clock.
Canuck o'clock. Time and place for a beer is when you feel like you want one. I guess at the end of the day, whether it's 9 a.m. or 2 a.m. in the morning, if you feel like you want a cold one, then I feel there's a beer for every occasion. So whether it's pre-dinner, post-dinner, barbecuing, celebrating something, there's a certain type and style of beer that's going to suit your need for that.
You were one of the SO Beer Boys, but yourself used to use Canuck o'clock. It didn't really pick up with social media, but why did you use it? I thought it was brilliant.
The hashtag. Well, we didn't come up with that.
No, we did.
Well, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
But
you used it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, because it
makes sense, right?
It does make sense.
Okay, should we bring it back?
Brilliant. I think
we
so.
should bring it back.
I think so.
If you could only drink one beer for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Fudge. I mean, I'm a hophead through and through, and whenever someone asks, what do you like drinking? I love IPAs, and I tend to gravitate towards double IPAs.
Rapid fire.
All right. But you can't drink that forever, so I think something like a European style lager that you can just drink.
You got to name a name,
like an actual name.
See, rapid fire.
Rapid fire. I'm failing. Like a Helles style lager.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that. Best place to grab a beer in Toronto, even though you're not from Toronto.
No. Obviously I'm wearing a Around the Horn shirt. So, I love a good hole in the wall, type bar where you can just sit and spark up a conversation with the person next to you. So
I'm glad you said spark up a conversation. I was going to say it is legal, but not in a licensed establishment.
Yes.
Best bar in the world that you've been to.
So I would say there's two. I was at a bar which was mentioned a few podcasts ago on your Rent a Beer podcast with
Dan.
With Dan. He mentioned In de Wildeman, which is in Amsterdam. I was there a number of years ago, and I went to that bar all 5 days that I was there, they had a great mix of local and international beers, and it's just one of those bars that you just love to go back to. And I was just in Italy this summer, and there was I'm not going to butcher it, but it's Machiviente or something. It's in Rome, and it was the most hole-in-the-wall bar that you could find. The tap room fit like 10 people, and it was just amazing. Grab your beer, get in the alley, and they had a great selection as well. I
was in Brussels one year, and we just were down one of these shopping districts, and I just saw a hanging sign in an alley. And I was like, I wonder what that is, and I followed it, and it was in a church. The church was built in like the 1400s, but the towers were built around it, and then a building was built on top of the church. So when you walked in, you went downstairs to this 1422 church or whatever, and up above are all these brand new. So sometimes the best bar is the hole in the wall.
Yeah, that's a pick of.
Yeah, that is.
It's literally a hole in the wall.
It is a hole in the wall.
Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it.
Last question, Steve. While you're in the hot seat, best hangover cure.
Grab another.
It's 4 for 4 now. Last 4 guests have said the same thing.
You can do the water Advil thing. That might make you feel a little bit better, but just get back on that horse.
There we go. Steve, thanks for making the way to Etobicoke today for this. I know right after this recording, you're going to head back over to the brewery and put together a nice Sunnyside Session IPA chair that you can win at the Cans for Kids through a raffle. So I appreciate you doing that too. And I hope you had a great time, enjoyed the beer, and we'll come back in the future.
Yeah, for sure. This was awesome. Appreciate the invite.
Yeah, I always enjoy the conversations with you, and simply love what you and Paul are doing, and both in and out of the industry. And to go back to what you said, you are in the industry, whether you like it or not. So cheers to all that you do, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, dude.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.
At Bossa Nova, we have more than 400 products you won't find at the LCBO. Our craft beer comes from local faves and legendary producers like Driefonteinen, Bruton, and Hitachino. Our wines are the ones sommeliers bring into better restaurants, rarely available to take home. We have Basque cider, Normandy cider, Italian, Californian, as well as the finest from Ontario. Next door, relax and enjoy our outstanding selection in the newly opened Bar Bossa Nova. Bossa Nova in Roncesvalles Village. We've got a lot of stuff you're gonna love.
Cole's notes. The man in the lab is back, and he's ready to answer some listener questions. Interesting. Buckle up for another edition of Cole's Notes with Cole Raiskums. Take it away, Cole.
Thanks, Troy. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another Cole's Notes segment. Last week, I had our social media team put up a poll for beer science questions that you, the audience, wanted answered. Thanks, Charla. So today, I'm going to go through a few of them and give you some quick answers. Our first question is, how much can the proper glassware enhance the aroma and taste of our beer? And I want to start off by saying that if you want to enjoy your beer to its fullest, I recommend drinking it out of a glass, specifically one that is clear and clean. Our perception of our beer from a visual standpoint is very important on how we experience our beer. Now, if we're comparing glassware, there's certain things to look out for. If you want to highlight the appearance of the beer, something like a Pilsner glass will create the characteristic nice fluffy head, whereas a Weizen glass will control how the carbonation is released while keeping the sediment in the bottom of the glass. If you're more focused on the aroma, however, the snifter glass or tulip glass have curved edges which funnel the aroma from the beer to a concentrated point at your nose. There was even a study that found people were more drawn to dimpled mugs over traditional pint glasses, simply just due to the appearance. So our next question is, what is different about the brewing process for sours? So there are a few ways to make a sour beer. One of the most common methods is called a kettle sour. This involves making wort, but without adding any hops. We then cool the wort down to around 40 degrees Celsius in the kettle and add lactobacillus, the bacteria that we use to make yogurt. We let it ferment overnight in the kettle to make some lactic acid, and then we boil it the next day to kill the bacteria. After that, we treat the wort as normal. We add hops and yeast to it. The benefit of this process is that we don't risk any cross-contamination or infection of our other beers with the lactobacillus. You can, however, make a low to no hop wort and then add a mixed culture of many strains of yeast and bacteria into the fermenter. However, this is a little bit more difficult to control, takes a little bit longer, and has a higher risk of contamination for the rest of the brewery. All right, time for our last question. This is a strange one. Who is your lab assistant and why is he so handsome and amazing? My lab assistant is Will, and I appreciate his great attitude and work ethic. As for his looks, it's probably a mix of good genetics and good care routine. And with that, I'll conclude by thanking everyone who submitted questions. I hope we can do this again soon. Who knew science could taste so good?
Have you seen Will recently? He fell asleep in the sun. He's got half his face sunburned, half his face is white. So, yeah, shout out to Will. That was a nice question you had for Cole there. Thanks, Cole.
Yeah, it was submitted by a weirdo named Phil Waster. I don't know.
Oh, Will. All right, thanks, Cole. Great edition of Cole's Notes.
Take care, Troy.
Cheers.
Around the industry.
So we have some sad news to kick off the Around the Industry segment today. Kevin Keefe, the original founder, one of the Canada's biggest craft beer pioneers, passed away in Nova Scotia this past Sunday. Kevin started Ginger's Tavern back in Halifax back in the early 1980s, and that led to the creation of the Granite Brewery, the original. And in 1991, obviously, we know, in speaking with Mary Beth here a couple of weeks ago, the Halifax location was the impetus for the Toronto location, which opened in 1991. Kevin passed away on a Sunday, as I mentioned, and it's a huge blow. He literally wrote the legislation to make brew pubs legal in the province of Nova Scotia in the early 1980s. So I know in Ontario we talk a lot about the Jim Brickmans and the Creamores, the Wellingtons. Kevin was one of the first post-prohibition to bring craft brewing back to Canada, and he will be missed but not forgotten. Today we're recording this. It's September 5th. You're listening the week after. Guess what happened? Beer is in convenience stores. And all the stores we've been in recently, we've seen a lot of macro beers. But guess what? If you go into some Circle K, 7-Elevens, Rabba, Quickie Marts, you're going to find some Octopus Wants to Fight and Canuck Pale Ale. We've done a couple interviews at Great Lakes with the media, and the one thing we keep hammering on is when you go into these convenience stores in your local neighborhoods, support local. It never tasted so good. Speaking of the government and doing their thing, they just gave the Ontario Craft Cider Association $6 million in marketing over the next 5-6 years. And that's so that they can boost up their efforts in making consumers aware that there's some amazing cider being produced right here in Ontario with locally grown Ontario apples. The last episode, we talked about Shiloh Brewing in close to Ottawa, up for sale. Well, again, coming back to Ottawa, we have another brewery, Napanee Beer Co. is closing down. September 13th is their last day. Jordan Saunders has been doing that since 2015, so it's a sad day for Napanee and for Jordan. He put a lot of sweat and tears into that establishment, so we wish you all the best in your next chapter, Jordan. Some good news over at Great Lakes Brewery. GLB Beer Week is coming soon to Ontario near you. That doesn't make sense, but you get the gist. From September 27th to October 5th, Great Lakes is going to be doing events right across Ontario. Tap takeovers, beer dinners, pub crawls, meet the brewers, tastings, LCBO samplings. We have 2 events at the brewery. We have stuff going on at the brew pub. You'll be able to check out GLB Beer Week on our website and get all the up-to-the-minute details of that 9-day activation. Growler Magazine is now gone digital. It's no longer going to be printed, which is a damn shame because a lot of people like to carry that magazine around with them. But it is just announced that they're going digital, and you'll be able to read more up-to-the-minute news about what's happening in Ontario through the Growler. And the last thing we had at Great Lakes, we had the Minister of Small Business, the Federal Minister of Small Business, into the brewery this past week to check out our operation, to see how the federal excise beer tax, pausing the escalator and then reducing the 0 to 15,000 hectoliters by 50% fee this year has gone, and what that means for producers like Great Lakes Brewery. So Great Lakes, as part of the coalition of Canadian independent craft breweries, is still fighting with the federal government to modernize the federal beer excise tax on behalf of all small craft breweries across the country. And that's it. That's all, folks. Episode 17 with Steve Hukari has moved from the mash tun to the fermenters. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Steve, and we'll check out the Southern Ontario Beer Boys on Instagram and join us at GLB on September 14th for the annual Cans for Kids can and bottle drive to support the McMaster Children's Hospital. Today's episode is fueled by cans of Canuck Pale Ale, which you can find all over Ontario at the beer store, LCBO, select grocery stores, online at greatlakesbeershop.ca, and at certain convenience stores across the province. You can visit the brewery at 30 Queen Elizabeth Boulevard in Etobicoke or grab some delicious eats and fresh pours at our brew pub at 11 Lower Jarvis Street in Toronto. If you have any content you'd love to hear us discuss on the show or just want to tell us what you're drinking, drop us a line at podcast@greatlakesbeer.com. Until next time, please remember to keep tipping your glass of fresh GLB in the right direction. Supporting local never tasted so good.
To learn more about what's happening at Great Lakes Brewery, visit greatlakesbeer.com and subscribe to our weekly newsletter or follow Great Lakes Beer on your favorite social media platforms.